In March, Prime Minister Mark Carney announced that the Government of Canada will eliminate the goods and services tax for first-time home buyers on homes at or under $1 million. But how is that working so far, and how can first-time home buyers take advantage of this? Joining us now with some advice is Peter Sashecki with Everything Financial. Good morning, Peter. Good to see you.
Good morning.
Okay, so before we get to this week's topic, let's chat first about the interest rate announcement, holding steady at 2.75%. So what kinds of things does Tiff Macklem, the Bank of Canada governor, have to weigh when making this decision by deciding to hold it, or, you know, I think a lot of people were hoping that would be a cut?
Let's call him and ask, because because it makes no sense. But based on where inflation is, where our economy is, where the government's going on about housing and trying to help housing and housing and housing, but then they left interest rates. And a lot of economists just looked at it, and you read the reports in the last few days because they thought this was coming. It doesn't make any sense, because we're still about 1% to 1.25% above where we should be based on inflation. So we were hoping that gap would start to close. It didn't, so I guess we'll have to wait another 6 weeks and see what happens.
Yeah, because the next interest rate announcement, I think, is in early July. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
In July or somewhere around there. Yeah.
Okay. Let's talk about our topic now. So this GST break on homes up to $1 million. So by doing that, Canadians are going to face lower upfront housing costs and essentially keep money in their pocket. So tell us a little bit about this.
Well, it was announced when you read the whole thing. It was up to $1.5 million, and you're going to save all this GST, et cetera, which is great for first-time home buyers on these new homes, except when you read the fine print, don't go over $1 million, because once you go over $1 million, even though it was framed at $1.5 million, they claw back the GST. So as you go over $1 million, you don't get to keep the GST rebate on the first $1 million, and then maybe it would be a lower scale for the next 500,000. It actually pulls away that rebate on the first $1 million. So once you get to 1.5, there is no rebate. You're paying the full, well, that would be $75,000. So, which makes no sense, because if you bought a house at 1.3 with a basement suite, which helps the housing crisis, but you lose a bunch of the GST rebate till it's almost non-existent at that point.
So, I mean, I guess the product that would be available in the market that is under $1 million would be condos.
Yorkton, Saskatchewan.
Right.
I mean, we're picking on Saskatchewan again, 2 weeks in a row. No, but it's smaller communities. But look at the three major housing markets: Vancouver, Toronto, Montreal. There's not a lot available there is some, but there's not a lot available, unfortunately, that fit into this small bracket. And so don't dare go above that $1 million, because maybe you need the 2-bedroom and den condo or something like that that's 1.2, 1.3, because the people who need the break are losing the break, and it's counterproductive. It doesn't make sense. You should get to keep the first break, and then, like I said, a graduated decline after the $1 million. Yeah,
so this tax break, which is, I guess, could be up to $50,000, is supposed to allow more people to enter the housing market. So what is another way that would help them enter the housing market?
Keep that break, but do like the rollout said, up to 1.5 million. But if you go to 1.4 million, your break is actually only $10,000, but you're paying the rest of the GST. The best way would have been leave the 50 off the table, you save the 50, and maybe you don't save quite as much after that. So it encourages more people to buy a place that they could have a suite, help with the housing crisis, allow more renters to be able to have some affordable rent, and allow people also who couldn't afford to buy to still buy. Then you're helping two segments of the population, not just one.
Yeah, it's kind of uncertain times right now for a lot of people. Do you find that your clients are in a bit of a holding pattern? They don't really know what direction to go in?
They don't know what direction, but what a lot of people are doing, they do know one direction. The people who own a second property and trying to build a little more equity and help their retirement out, whatever, you know, getting together with maybe a few couples and buying a place, they're selling.
Oh, they're selling them.
Because of the Airbnb rules and all these other things that make it, again, work against them. They're selling and taking that money, and they're investing it instead, because they're looking at potentially a better return on their money, more choice, more freedom, less government involvement, so they can decide what to do with their money and get a consistent return on their money, as opposed to kind of having their hands tied.
Yeah, interesting. People are pulling away from real estate, and we're not seeing a lot of fewer people buying right now. So
that's right. That's
lots
for sure.
of properties on the market. Peter Sashecki with Everything Financial. Thanks for joining us this morning.
Thank you.
Good to see you. You didn't bring treats in for us this morning.
No treats today. I had to give everyone a diet today.